Hey, how are you?
I'm in the holiday spirit.
Same. I love it. I love it. I mean, at
That's
least I'm wearing blue instead of black. Technically, this is a blue shirt.
okay, you're mixing it up. I think that is
Exactly.
wonderful. I am trying
Someday
to
we might even add a splash of color. We'll see.
don't tease, Joe. That's fun. That could be. In in the spirit of fun, I was thinking for this episode in particular, we could somehow theme it around the holidays. And my mind immediately went to food. And then we started chatting,
Yes.
and I thought, okay, this episode is going to be called, a recipe for leadership. It
Love it.
can be as simple and complicated as that. But
Perfect.
if that works for you. The the original piece of the recipe, I do have to say, like, started for me because I was eating pie. This is this is
Nice.
an important
So
professional
many good things
start.
start with eating pie.
I just feel like it does, yes.
Yeah, I love it.
I was actually asked to speak at this particular conference, and they said, "We want you to talk about the difference between management and leadership, and we'd like you to do it in 28 minutes." I don't know why it was 28, but I'll always remember it was 28 minutes. And they went, "This is what we want you to do." And I thought, how are you supposed to do that, Joe? You know how many books there are and frameworks and all of the things. And I was visiting mom and we were eating pie because my mother is a baker. And as I'm like shoveling back the apple pie, I just had this moment because I said to her, I was like, "Oh, this is delicious. I wish I could make it." And she goes, "Oh, you could. It's even you could do it," is what she actually said. She
That's
goes,
hilarious.
she goes, "KayLee, the ingredients are simple. It's pretty straightforward." And something clicked in that moment where I went, it actually could just be simple ingredients. If you really
Yeah.
boiled it down to a thing, like what would those simple ingredients look like, even in this complicated idea of leadership?
Love
And
that.
yeah, because I went, it really could just be three things. And those
Okay.
are the three things I wanted to chat about and throw out there and see what you think as we
Yeah,
kind of
let's
talk
do it.
through it. Okay. The first one, the first ingredient that I kind of think is foundational to the pie to leadership piece is self-awareness.
Hmm.
Is this idea that you cannot influence behavior if you are unconscious of your own. You know that there's something in there about if you want to be able to inspire others, there has to be this moment of reflection.
Yeah,
I don't know. Would you agree
exactly.
with that? Do you think?
Yeah, of course, of course. I think it makes us think of the expression "the blind leading the blind." It's like if you're wandering around in your own sort of model of like not knowing who you are, what you do best, what energizes you, what strengths you have. How do you expect other people to be in touch with that when you're not modeling it? So you're not reflecting first. So there's something about good leaders. Simon Sinek says eaters eat last and pie is dessert. So that all makes sense with your story.
Gosh,
But
yes.
I think, great leaders also go first with stuff like this. It's like, I'm going to be reflective and self aware. And I'm going to ask you all to be that too. Because how many leaders are hypocritical with that? So I think that's a great start. Love that ingredient.
Yes. And especially should I go over all three right off the
I
bat or
think
should
so.
we
Why don't because we
Okay.
got that feedback about like giving
Oh,
people the
right.
roadmap. So let's give them the roadmap before we go deep on any one.
Okay.
How does that work? How does that sound? Good?
Yeah, probably
Okay.
good for our listeners that care about the framework there.
Structure.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
the structure. Okay, so then the first one is self-awareness. The second ingredient to this important recipe is humility. And there are varying levels of it, but I think at its core, just essential to the outcome we are looking for. And I think you'll notice too, these are ingredients that are incredibly difficult to train.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean, Joe?
Yes.
Like I think there's a real
Right.
common theme there when I think about it like that. So we have self-awareness, you have humility, and then there's this multiplier in here, which I refer to as the GAS, which is an
Hmm.
acronym for your give a shit.
Nice.
Like there's
Yeah.
something in there where you can have all the self-awareness in the world. You can even have some humility, which might be great. It's adding these things together. You might have 3 cups of self-awareness, which is the flour. You've got 2 cups of humility, which is the eggs, okay? But the the care piece is it's like all or not. It's like
Mm,
1 or 0, if I
yes,
can
yes.
number.
I
It's
love that.
sugar or no sugar.
That's right.
So
So the
you're
care piece
multiplying it.
makes or breaks it, right? You have
Yeah,
self-awareness varying degrees, humility varying degrees, but then the multiplier is either you care or you don't care. And when you care, it's multiplied by 1 or 2 or 3. It could still be a multiple of that, right? The more you care,
sure.
the more you get. And if you don't care, it's times 0.
Yes, that's
Well,
exactly it.
my cousin made a recipe with a multiplier of 0. And this was a long time ago. I visited my cousin and his wife, and they were newly married. So, imagine a young couple, maybe not the most skillful cooks. They were making apple pie for the holidays. They were making a whole bunch of apple pies. And they kept this one apple pie to share with me to say, hey, we're going to taste this, even though we probably shouldn't, because this is where we misread the recipe. And what they did was instead of a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, they put a quarter cup of cinnamon in their apple pie recipe. So, needless to say, the apple pie was the darkest apple pie I'd ever seen. It
Yeah,
almost looked like black tar apple pie. And when we cut a piece and took a tiny bite, we all immediately realized we shouldn't take another bite. This is the most disgusting thing we ever had. So that was multiplier. Like that was not caring at all, right? That was the metaphor of not caring at all. And no matter how all these great ingredients were wasted because of that one disgusting overindulgence of the wrong thing. So
mm,
one thing can ruin the whole pie. One thing can ruin the whole experience of leadership. I think you nailed it here with your idea of that gas is the multiplier.
I'm more
Perfect.
amazed that we both had a commonality around apple pie, which
I
is
know
just
it was so
that's
awesome.
weird.
When you started talking about the origin of this, I'm like, I actually have a pie story.
Overarching a cinnamon. Okay, well let's get into it then,
Yeah,
because
let's do it.
if self-awareness is the ingredient that we are kicking things off with, there's a bunch
Yes.
of actual tactics that are applicable to people that you can do or not do. And as I'm talking through this, I feel like it's also worth calling out almost the counterpart or the
Yes.
counterpoint to it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So when you think of self-awareness, even before I start talking about like the tactics within that, what do you think is the counterpoint to it?
Yes, I think some people might expect us to say the counterpoint to self awareness is a lack of awareness where you're just oblivious. I don't think it
Hmm,
is because I
mm,
think oblivious comes from overconfidence or maybe even arrogance. So
yeah,
you have a good degree of confidence, but the more sometimes you're so confident you never reflect. And we see it in some assessments that we use where if people have a very high score in something, they are very low reflective. So this is a case where people are so confident, they're always moving forward, they're always self-assured. They don't stop and reflect and say, what do I need help with? Where do I struggle? It's all about go, go, go. So I think confidence might be the counterbalance, but overconfidence, because healthy confidence is always good.
sure.
Overconfidence or arrogance gets in the way and it probably blocks being self aware. That's one thing that I would lean on.
Totally, because they don't think they have to.
That's right.
They
I'm
have their
great. Why do I need
yeah,
to ask how I'm
yeah.
doing? Why do I need to look at my weaknesses? Why do I need to know exactly my source or secret sauce here? I think you miss out in all facets of that, right? You miss out on the superpower that you have by naming it specifically so you can be more intentional. And you miss out on saying, well, I'm not perfect. So where do I need help?
Yeah, I remember talking to a gentleman once who I would describe as overconfident, and he said to me, I was trying to talk about self-awareness, and he goes, "KayLee, it's worked for me so far." You know? So
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
that mindset, whereas the self-awareness piece is this, you know, use a tool. We could have a whole episode, which we probably should, on
Yes.
assessments, and
Yes.
we both have opinions and feelings on that, which I think is great. The essence of it is this, to look in the mirror and use a tool that has some guidance, has some debrief, has some time to really kind of step back and ask yourself the important questions, like rooted in something more than just your opinion,
Yeah.
is right, is the
Yeah.
key here. And I'm sure you've seen it as well, even just in the types of questions that we should be asking ourselves, even without a tool, to just indicate a level of self awareness in some way, shape, or
Yes.
form.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I do when I don't have a tool to use there is the quick and dirty version is just tell a story about when you're at your best. When you're at your best, tell what's that story look like, and then extract from that the themes. When I'm at my best, I'm usually solving problems or analyzing something or creating something new. So it's like you pull the themes out. And if you see that in all these examples of when you're at your best, you know what your strengths are. And then you could say, when do I struggle? And maybe the struggle needs a third party. Maybe you need a mirror for that. To ask someone else and say, hey, when am I at my best? And when do you see me struggle? Where do you think I need help? Where can I use support? And by the way, that's so much better than a formal 360, which can feel very painful and defensive. Just ask people that you trust, what do I do well and where can I improve?
Yeah. It's a nice, easy piece there because the way in which we say the thing gets interpreted entirely different by the person on the receiving end of that. So
Yes,
the
exactly.
understanding of your self-awareness on yourself and others, major recipe ingredient, step one. Fair.
So when you have
Okay.
this ingredient, you have the self-awareness, what's the biggest impact it could have immediately for a leader who says, here's how I'm going to use my self-awareness to be a better leader?
Yeah, I think it actually directly relates to business outcomes and buy-in from the people around them.
Okay.
Because the moment an individual can go be very clearly state, look, here's the things I'm good at, here's the things that get in my way, and because of that, here's what I do to mitigate or manage it or lean into a thing. Let's figure out yours. Like now you are maximizing the strengths of the people around you in
Yes.
a way that works for them, which then leads to their engagement, leads to their output. Like it really is at the heart, I think, of what we're talking about here in that way. And there are varying levels of it too. That's why I'm kind of going like you might have 4 cups of the thing, maybe you only got 2. But it's
Yeah.
the how about this? It's the willingness to want to learn, to want to lean into it that's
Okay.
key there.
So it sounds like the curiosity of self is a starting point. Be curious about what you're all about. Be curious about others. And then there's this notion of connection, connecting the dots with others and aligning around that is an easy way to say, this is who we are as a team. When I
Yes.
know what I'm good at and where I need help, when you know what you're good at and you need help, collectively, we have a clear picture of who we are. So that's pure clarity for me. It's like saying clarity is who we
Mm.
are as a team when we're at our best, where we might struggle, and how we support each other. Like what I'm, my favorite hire of all time was the person who was most opposite me. And she was my favorite hire because I didn't realize how badly I needed that and how important it was to my success from that point on. And it was only because I knew my weaknesses and was comfortable admitting it that I was able to find someone who kind of filled in those blanks and had the things I didn't have in abundance.
Yeah. It's magic. Self-awareness, number 1.
Beautiful.
Okay, number 2.
Yes.
We're gonna add it to humility.
Nice.
And I guess you could do a lot of definitions of humility. We've
Yeah.
kind of even had other discussions about that, but I've kind of settled on this willingness to learn out loud.
Mm, I love that.
Like there's something in that you could call it an abundance mindset for sure, but there's this humility aspect where you can say things to a group of people where it doesn't have to be your idea. You go, I want your perspective. I am
Yes.
seeking out the ideas or input of others because I don't have it all figured out, or
Yeah.
my way isn't always the best way. I don't
Well,
know. Does
since
that
we
definition work?
counterbalance,
I don't know. Yeah.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Since we balanced the last one, I think the counterbalance for this one is this notion of competence without flaw. Because it's good to know you're competent as a leader or as a performer, but it's also good to know what your weaknesses are so that you don't think you have to protect your competence. I feel like humility is that balance point of saying, here's what I'm great at, and here's where I
Mm.
struggle. If you leave out the struggle part, you come across as flawless and you send a message to your team that no one can have any flaws because we only have to talk about what we're great at and we have to kind of pretend the flaws don't exist. So humility is, to me, part vulnerability of I'm going to be humble enough to know what I don't know and ask for your help. That's how I interpret it.
It reminds me of mat leave coverage I did once for
Hmm.
this team as an HR director. And the first week I was there was budget season,
Okay.
which, let's say, Joe, I would classify this as not in my top 5 strengths,
Yeah.
perhaps, with the
Yeah.
attention to detail required for this massive budget. So we're having this meeting the first week I'm there, get the whole team together. I hand out the budget and I go, okay, where should we put the money? you know, like, I don't know.
Right.
Y'all have been working here for 10 years, some of you. Like, I'm sure you have insight into how we should be allocating the funds. And this team, every single person in that room looked at me, Joe, and went, "I've never seen this document before."
Mm, mm,
And I said, like, "What are you talking about? There's only 6 of us on the team. How could you?"
right.
It
Right.
just didn't even occur to me that you wouldn't have seen the departmental budget. And they just looked at me and went, "Yeah, we were told that was an executive level document, and that was
Uh,
not a document for us to see." And I said, "Well, that isn't the way that I roll. So we're just going to all get together." And maybe that wasn't the only piece of it, but the trust that was built in that room in that moment, just by having a lack of attachment to a thing and
yeah.
just going, "Oh, look, I want to know what you all think about this." It started us off on a really good foot. How about that? Like, in
I
terms
love
of
it.
establishing connection
Well,
there.
and I don't know where this fits, but this whole like magic box that's too complicated for the what is it? The peasants kind of vibe. I don't like that at all. It's like, the great leaders bring people in and say, "Hey, this is what I'm working on and what I want you to understand so that when you're a leader, you can do the budget." So you
Yeah.
got to show them the budget so they understand the budget. And it creates so much better alignment when people know, I know this is a little off topic because it's not just the humility piece, but I just don't like the black box thing. Like it's this secret box that only leaders have access to. Too many leaders think that that sort of exclusive knowledge is power versus bringing it down to, don't think in terms of levels, just think in terms of, I want to rise your point of view to see the big picture. That's what great leaders do. Great leaders don't create that gap of, well, I'm up here and I'm going to take the elevator down to show you the budget once in a while.
Well, exactly.
Elevate people.
It actually really reinforces what you just said earlier about how the counterpoint to humility in this case might actually be an over assumption of competence, right?
Yes,
Like, but I'm the
exactly.
best at the budget, and that's part of
Yes,
my job
yes,
here. And so,
yes.
because I'm so good at this thing, I don't need to put it out to others.
Well, and if I think the budget is this sophisticated thing that only I can do as a manager, and I show it to my team and they all get it and they have better ideas than I do, now I've lost that edge of being someone who knows
Yes.
something you don't know. That's
Yes.
the competence piece for me right there. It's like, wait a minute, I just demystified the budget and now you all think I don't do anything important because there's nothing I do that you can't do. So why am I the manager? People start to question their authority because they're thinking nothing separates us if I don't have these secret things that I do that you can't do.
Yes. That's so true. I love that. Versus expand the room, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Expand the room out there. Okay, that's perfect. So we've got ingredient, we've got self-awareness. We're going to add in a few cups of humility, maybe at least a couple, folks. We're going for at least a couple of this meeting.
Before we go to the
Oh
multiplier,
yeah.
can we talk very briefly about, is there any connection between those two ingredients and how they combine? Going back to like the recipe we talked about earlier, you ever see like the first recipe of baking is always mixing the sugar and the egg and it creates this really whipped up egg thing that looks cool and it's like, wow, that looks delicious already. It's almost custard. So what does self-awareness and humility do special together? Anything you have on that?
Yeah, I think what it does is it adds credibility to the person that has humility.
Okay.
Because without one or the other, like, let's look at it this way. Let's say you
Mhm.
have no self-awareness, but you're willing to be you have all the
Yes.
humility in the
Yes.
world.
Yeah,
That
you could be a buffoon.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
seriously, you might have to go
Yeah.
like, "This person actually doesn't showed up with any real decision making," or
Right.
like, "They're
Right.
super nice, they're always asking us for our
Yeah.
opinion, but I'm starting to wonder, like, why are they the boss?" Like, it could if you have too much and have
Yes.
none of the other, I think it could happen. Or the person who goes, I've actually had someone say this to me before. KayLee, I've been doing self awareness assessments for 20 years. I have an incredibly strong understanding of exactly what I bring to the table. And I go, yeah, that's amazing, but you don't know the strengths of anyone else working for you.
Right, right,
So,
right,
because you
right.
haven't been willing to ask, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So that I think there's kind of like the magic is having both.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Because that second version is I'm so self-aware and I know my strengths and my strengths are the best. That's not really humble. It's like, hey, I know my strengths and I'm really grateful for them. And boy, you should see my weaknesses. you know,
Yeah.
that because to me, without the self-awareness, I think we risk coming off as the clueless buffoon who's likable. Like, I don't know if I'm good at anything, but let me tell you, I'm an open book. You could read me. I don't love that. It's like,
Yeah.
be self aware. So I think you got the order right. Like, self awareness
Okay.
comes first, because I think if we said without self awareness, humility could be buffoonery. With self awareness, humility becomes a real maturity of leadership to say, I'm self aware and I'm proud of my strengths. So that's real confidence. It's not arrogance. And I have these weaknesses where I really need your help, and that's humility. And humility is not fear. It's not, I can't tell you. And it's also saying, hey, this won't take me down because I trust all of you to help me with this. And I'm here to help you with what I do best. So we got our little magic mixture going on. Let's talk about the multiplier.
Okay, we're hitting the multiplier.
Let's
This
hit the
is
gas. Let's hit the gas
oh my
here.
gosh, nailed it, Joe. We nailed it.
This recipe might be those two ingredients, and the gas is the oven, and we turn on the heat. I don't
Okay.
know. I
Yes.
I I might be getting too cute with this, but just
No,
let's see
I
the
think
gas.
this works. I think this totally
Yeah, we
works.
throw some humble pie
Oh
and
my
some
gosh. Oh my
self-awareness in
gosh.
the
Yes.
oven,
We
and
can
then we
make
turn up the gas. And without the gas, nothing cooks.
my goodness. I'll tell you what, if the people listening learn nothing from this discussion, they're at least going to be hungry and stop for dessert on
Exactly.
the way home for as
And and
much.
and I love metaphors so much, I will overextend them, which
Okay.
is a
Okay.
strength and a weakness.
We're in it. We're on the oven, the gas, the whichever.
Oh my god.
It
Yeah,
it is a multiplier because unless you care, you're not going to get true commitment.
that's right.
That,
You can't fake it. You really can't.
yeah, and Joe, I don't know about you, but I have been trying for my entire career at the essence of it to teach others to just give a shit enough about the
Yeah,
people in your care. And
yeah,
sometimes I feel like it's a losing battle. Sometimes you get one, but again, I come back to this idea it has to be a choice for people. You can only do so much to put the tactics, to put the things in front of the person, but they have to choose to go, I I actually genuinely care about these individuals who work with me and for me, and I'm willing to do the small things that make an impact that showcase I believe that,
yeah, yeah.
you know? And if you don't have that, what's the counterpoint? I mean, if we stick with the counterpoint piece, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
give a
Well,
shit.
not caring means it's all about you, and all about you is kinda like ambition on steroids. It's overly ambitious. It's, well, I'm the leader, and these are my underlings, and they're all gonna carry out my orders so that I look great. And if I look great in front of leadership, they're successful when they make me look good, and they're failing when they make me look bad. And it's this more
Mm.
egocentric, ambitious leadership. It's almost like Lord Farquaad from Shrek. It's like an "I am the king of the forest" kind
Yeah,
of thing. It's got
yeah,
that. I always picture someone in a ridiculous costume, making proclamations about how great they are, like a Lord Farquaad or something in a cartoon movie.
yes.
So I think ambition is the enemy of that, and not healthy ambition, right? It's that dysfunctional, overly ambitious, climbing on the backs
Mm.
of others. I think that's the problem.
Yes, I like that. And even the fake care,
Oh my
you
God.
know, where
Yes.
it's like rooted in
Yeah.
ambition is probably like
Yeah.
the motivation, the
Yes.
drive,
Yes.
but it's
Hey,
the
how you doing, Kaylee? Because
yeah,
you're late on this stuff and it really needs to happen. Like
yeah,
that kind of like connecting fake care with pressure. When care and pressure, it's not clear whether you're caring for me or pressuring me, you're a fraud.
yes. It reminds me of a leader I used to work for, and this person would say things where it had the appearance of care, but wasn't.
Right. Right.
She would say she would say, "You know what? Yeah, you've got a lot on your plate. You go ahead and take the afternoon." just make sure you're all caught up and have that ready to go by tomorrow morning.
Yes, it's the
You
tack
know
on
what I mean?
part. The
Yeah,
tack
there
on
was,
it's
like,
always the
something
extra.
else
Yeah.
attached to it where I went, "Do
Yes.
you
Yes.
actually give a shit about my mental health then or not?"
Right.
And
Right.
whereas if you just even shift that slightly and, take the afternoon, you got a lot on your plate. If anything comes up, we'll figure it out together, right?
Exactly.
We'll
Yeah.
navigate through it together. Like,
It has
I
to be pure. Care has to be pure. It has to be
yes,
clearly no strings attached, no conditions attached. It's like I care in this moment, and that's all you're going to know is that I care. If there's anything attached to it, people sniff that out. That's why you can't fake the care part, like you said. You could fake self awareness because I've
sure.
seen people who are masterful at pretending they
Yes.
care about what you think about them and they don't. And I've seen people masterful at fake humility. Maybe they're not that masterful because sometimes it's embarrassingly shallow fake humility, but you could fake humility and self awareness way more easily than you could fake giving a shit. Because that, you know, it's the dissonance between the intentions and the words that we sniff that out better when it comes to our own well-being, and we don't feel psychologically safe around somebody who doesn't care about us. Like I don't
Yes.
care if you're an egomaniac because you don't hurt me with that as much as you hurt me with not caring about my mental health, physical health, my well-being as a person.
Exactly it. So if we get the multiplier right, if you
Yeah,
get the care piece, the outcome, and this is where I almost wonder if it's worth calling out the outcome of the counterpoints first.
yeah. Right. So the counterpoint is confidence plus competence times ambition equals leadership. Right.
Sure. Which
Because that's what
sounds good, Joe.
that's we
It
said how
sounds
work
good.
actually works. That's how people think work works. That you're a leader when you're confident, when you show you're competent in what you do, and you have ambition, which by the way, in the right measures, those are all true things. They're good.
Sure.
But we're
Yeah.
talking about that's still not it. There's something more important. And what's more important than that?
Okay, so then if we go this other route and we look at things like self-awareness plus humility times it by our give a shit, that's when you get followership.
Beautiful. I love that.
This is when people choose to.
That's right.
You are sparking action in others and they want to do that for you. That is a whole other level, I
Because
think.
that's
Now,
the difference between how do you know you're a leader because I have a title, a business card, in an office? No. You know you're a leader because you have followers. And not followers in terms of people like the lemming approach to followership. Followership who say, I'm going where you're going. I believe in you. I
yeah.
trust you. And, you leave this job, I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
And, I've been fortunate to have a couple of people say that to me in my career. I've probably had people earlier in my career who said, if he leaves, I'm happy to stay here because I don't want him to lead anymore. That's the learning journey of like being an unskilled leader to a more skilled leader and a more competent leader and caring leader. But that's the ultimate compliment of people who say, wherever you go, I'll follow. That's true followership. And we
Yeah.
follow by walking side by side, not by walking in front. So
Yeah.
it's like followership is we're all here together and I'm looking out for the group and we're all one. I love it.
Sounds nice. And that's my trying to appeal to my mom's simplistic view if we were to summarize in
Yes.
30 minutes our recipe there, Joe. So I hope there's especially for the people listening, even if there's just some pieces in there that are helpful. And if not, it's 3T time.
Well,
Treat
a note on that. Simple is
okay.
not always easy.
Yeah.
As someone who been cooking a long time, I don't like baking for that reason because it's to me the perfect ingredient, like the perfect recipe, and the timing is not my strength. But like to make something really delicious is simple. Good ingredients, simple steps, but it's not easy. There's finesse, and I think the finesse is the important part. All these things are straightforward, but we're going to give you these 3T time where this is the finesse of how to make each one come alive.
Okay. Well, that was a much nicer setup than me just saying it's 3T time. So okay. That works.
Hey,
That works. It's a
I'm
nice
glad I
transition.
could serve the cause.
versus me being like, what's the next thing? Okay. Well, if we think about keeping it tactic tool based, especially, or tip based from our 3Ts, and maybe jump in here, but the question, let's make it just applicable to a person listening to this. So
Yes.
you want to gauge how many cups of self-awareness you have in your own recipe, even at this moment. Ask yourself over the last 7 days, what behavior has been incredibly beneficial to you? What behavior has helped you? What behavior has saved you over the last 7 days? And then ask yourself, which ones kind of came back to bite me? Or is the behavior that one might have got in my way a little bit? And if you can answer that question almost immediately or right off the cuff, I'd say you have pretty high self-awareness. If you
Right.
can,
If that takes more than like 10 seconds, you're not really paying attention to what you're doing behaviorally.
like,
Exactly.
yeah, maybe not as much or as deeply. And if it takes you longer, that's fine too.
Yeah,
I'd be thrilled if anyone just, even tried asking themselves that. But it is kind of an indication of the level of self-awareness you might be at, is how can you articulate that?
that's right.
And would anyone else agree with that assessment?
Yeah, there you go. And then
People,
maybe the tip beyond that is how can you be more intentional going forward? So, how can you look for opportunities to use your strengths more in the next week and to guard against the things you struggle with by asking for help or by minimizing the risk of the things you struggle with?
I love
That's it.
that.
That's number one. Number two,
Okay, I have one for number 2. Tell me what you think about this, because I tried to relate this one more to a team-based approach,
that's good.
okay?
That's good. So, a leader can take this to their team tomorrow and try it out.
Yes, it's one of
Cool.
my favorite questions. Here's what I would throw out. It's to say this to the whole team. We throw this out there. We go, "What is one assumption that other people are making about our team that is true, but we wanna change it?"
Great question. Absolutely. It's good team vulnerability to say, let's acknowledge our struggles and let's work on them without even having anybody say anything to us. Right? You don't
Yeah,
need a complaint box. You don't need a cross company survey to say, "Hey, if everyone has a customer in a business, who's your customer? What do they need and are you delivering?" Be self-aware and say, "What can we improve on as a team? Let's fix it." Love that.
yeah, and it's because it's a whole discussion. I think people would be surprised by what could come out of a discussion like that when you word it in that way. Like, what are other people thinking about us? And it actually is true, but we wanna adjust that perception, or we wanna lean into change that. It versus what do people like or not like about what our team
Yeah.
is doing is
Yeah.
harder to answer,
I
you know?
agree. It's a great question. The wording there is perfect. What's one assumption people are making about us that's true and needs to change? I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
love that. Okay, for number 3, I wanted to ask you a question,
Okay.
like, just off the cuff if I could. I think it'll be fun this way, and then just give me what you think would be the most helpful tip, tactic, or tool in this particular. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I feel like you can handle it. Okay.
If not, I'll just have technical difficulties and my camera will turn
Okay.
off.
Okay. Because I was starting to think about how do we do this? Okay, so, what about this? What is the easiest way to show a team member that you genuinely care about them as a person,
Hmm.
not just their performance?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. And
Okay,
it's an
good.
important question. And it's one that, you know, I had to learn to even do it, not because I didn't care, but because as a more introverted person who's a thinker, not less of a feeler, when we think Myers Briggs, right? I'm not trying to put myself in a box as much, but because I'm less apt to be like warm and fuzzy with people, because I'm less comfortable being warm and fuzzy in a corporate environment, especially years back. I had to learn that I had to realize like, oh wow, I can connect with people as a person, not just as performance. Because I thought I learned that work was work and then people were people outside of work, and it wasn't about having this kind of connection at work. So the easiest way is curiosity. I'm getting to the point of just curiosity. It's asking questions. Hey, what do you do after work? What's sort of like what's your interest? Having a common interest. When you have lunch with people and you just learn a bit about who they are and you don't talk about business at all. The curiosity has to be personal, but not prying personal. It can't be like,
Yeah.
because there is HR for a reason. So we always want to have the guardrails of
Sure.
like, what should you ask people about? So be
Yeah.
smart about it. Don't ask stupid questions, but be curious about the person. What are your interests? Tell me something about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Those kind of things. That's how people connect. So I learned to do that, not because I'm a robot, but because I didn't understand that the workplace had that kind of warmth possibilities. And we talked about this previously about warmth, that I worked with a group of people who felt like a big warm hug. I realized like, oh, well, yeah, work can have that beautiful blend of business and personal.
there's something in there about even the how you ask the question,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even saying, "How are you doing?" People
That's
might
right.
like, a person might think, "Oh, I ask my team that all the time. I show them
Yeah.
my care. I go, 'How are you doing?'" But there's a difference between that and saying, like, "No, really? Like,
No,
how are you
really.
doing this
Exactly.
week?"
Yes.
Like, I just think there's something in there. So yeah, great answer, Joe. I like that a lot, and I hope that, yeah, again, it might sound simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy, so I appreciate you calling that out too. But
Well,
in the
this was a fun
holiday spirit,
conversation.
recipe.
This was a great conversation. I appreciate you, sharing your recipe for followership. I love it. And I think we're going to keep our kind of word to our viewers, listeners, whomever, that we want to just give you practical things you can do for real in the workplace. We want to kind of pick apart what we think doesn't work and show you what works and have you be able to apply that tomorrow. So let us know how we're doing. We appreciate the comments and feedback we're getting so far. Thank you, KayLee. Appreciate you. Great episode. Any last words?
Nope. Thank you very much. See you in a fortnight.
All right. Awesome. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.